What's up, everybody? Today I wanted to make a hero tier list. Somebody had requested that in the comments, so I was like, sure, I could do that. It was a kind of a concept that I had a hard time thinking about because the tiers change, right? Like, as you progress with the generations, every hero is going to get stronger, so if you're going to max out every hero, you're probably just one of whatever generation is best. But I think it's more useful to kind of look at like a hero tool list, because that's really what I see these as, is like all the heroes as tools. In the very beginning, and as time goes, it changes. So let's start with Generation 1. In the beginning, you've got two heroes that are offensive widget heroes of Amadeus, who's got amazing stats. Like his base stats are 260 for infantry, attack, and defense, and his widget is offensive, which will never happen again, apparently. And then you have Helga, who also has an offensive widget. I never bothered it because I know she got out of style pretty quick. And her stats are a little less impressive, but still, capping out at 200, it's very strong, you know? And their skill sets are also good, you know? Damage chance taken down, attack up, lethality up. Solid, solid, solid. And then Amadeus, he's just, if you're going by tiers, he's the absolute best just because he lasts for so long in this game, from Generation 1 probably through all the way to Generation 6. I mean, we're only at Generation 3 right now, but I'm probably going to keep him through Generation 4 as my offense for infantry. But his skills, great skills. Lethality up is the upper right skill, so you can use them in Bear, as a rally joiner, whatever the case might be. Attack up 25%, and damage dealt chance up 40%. All offensive skills, and you get the offensive widget. It's just an amazing hero. And 62.5, that's a pretty good lethality boost. I mean, even in like Gen 3, what are we looking at? I think it's 70%. Yeah, they're at 70%. So like, he's very relevant even up to this time. So hands down, these are just great heroes. And I really think that the first generation heroes were the best heroes. Meaning, like, as far as skills are going, they're very clean cut, they're very clear, they're very awesome. Then you got Jabel, who is a solid hero. Like, if you're free to play, if you're a mid spender, even if you are pay to win, this is a solid one, you know? You're getting lethality increased by 50% or 15% in your widget. And then her skills are really good too, you know? Upper right is damage taken down, damage up 50%. Well, it's actually 25%, 50% chance of 50%, so 25%. And then lethality up 25%. Another solid hero. Like, if they ever came out with another generation that had these kind of stats you're seeing in Gen 1, like, you would swoop on them, right? So, and then, like, the purple heroes, too, which you get in Generation 1, are very solid. Like, Chenko, she's, you know, the ultimate rally joiner, and for Bear and everything like that. You got lethality up 25% and damage taken down 20%. Solid stats. You have Quinn. He's got damage taken down 20% and damage up 25%, essentially. 50%, 50%. And then you've got a really good defensive guy in Howard. He's got damage taken down 20% and then troop attack, enemy troops down 20%. See, these are all like really, really good skills. So as far as like, if you're in Generation 1 and you're trying to build the best as free to play, you want to go with pretty much Jabel, Quinn, and Howard. Or if you've, you know, that's a good like offensive one. Chenko can sub in for Jabel and she's fine too, but these are the ones you want. And then if you're pay to win, obviously you're going to have Amadeus as your attacking one. You can switch out with Howard if you're going on defense, and then, you know, you're going to stick with still Jabel and Quinn. Now, Diana is like more of a tool, where it's like she's useful for some things, but she's not very good for like actual fighting. Like, her skills are stamina down 20% and then hunt march speed up 100%. So her tool is really like, I'm really good at doing like the beast activities where I have to go out and kill beasts, because one, you're going to save a lot of stamina with her, and she's going to go fast, right? And then these purple heroes that we got recently, I don't know if these now come along with Gen 1. My understanding is that these all came out at the same time across the board, all the kingdoms, so it's not like they're released at a certain time. And these are also like very good tool heroes that help out with the city itself as well as other things. Like Yeon Woo, she's got a good skill up here of lethality up, but then this is important too. Research increase research speed 15%. That's awesome, man. That is an awesome, awesome skill. Like, if for nothing else, get it for that. Then you have Amine, which her skill is healing speed up 50%. Not really great anymore because everybody auto heals and it's not that hard to heal anymore. And then attack up 25%, solid, right? And I do believe, like, there's been a few people that have talked about this, and we're going to test this pretty soon, but I do believe that 2 Animes and 2 Chenkos, or 2 Animes and 2 Yanwus are better than 4 of either ones. That seems to be what the reality is, but I'm going to test that eventually and figure that out. Then you have Fod, right? And Fod is, again, he's like more, he's not really that great. Enemy skill, enemy damage down to 20%, so he's kind of like a good garrison guy if you're in defense. And then the hunt marching speed, 100%. So he's good to pair up with Diana because you're going to get super fast marching speed and then the reduction in stamina. And if you're doing like a beast killing event, they're just going to clean up. So those are great for those kind of things. Then you've got these blue heroes. I use these every day, but you never put them into battle for the most part unless you're just trying to get like a boost on your capacity for what you're doing. Force is going to be the wood guy. He's going to make gathering wood better. Olive is going to be the bread person. She's going to make gathering bread better. Like, all their skills are just about gathering. Here's the, rock guy. Again, just gathering stone and, increasing the amount your quarry produces. And then the iron guy, Seth. So you're going to use those every day essentially to do gathering and get your dailies done. What I do for my dailies, I really just send them out with like level 5s because I don't really need resources by, gathering. But I like to get the dailies done, so I send them out to level 5 and get them done about like 30 minutes or something and then get that knocked out. Gordon is a solid hero too because he has health. Like, his upper right is health. So if you're joining something, he's great for that, And his attack's 25% too, so he's fine to introduce into, an early generation rally or whatever. But I would really pretty much never put him in unless you're putting him in for defensive purposes. Otherwise, you've got Chenko and then Jabel. All right, and then there's Saul. And Saul is I really didn't put much effort into him at all. He becomes irrelevant pretty fast as far as attacking is concerned. But if you're early on and you're like a pay-to-win guy, the benefit to him is he has a widget that is a defensive archer widget. And the next one you get really is, not Jaeger, Hildy. No, I'm sorry. It is Jaeger. So you get Saul, and he's got a defensive widget. Then you get Marlin, who has the offensive, and then you get Jaeger, who has a defensive. So Saul is good for the widget purpose if you max that out. But really the thing that I use him for is really this middle skill right here, which is just construction speed up 50% and construction cost down 15%. That's great. That's a really good benefit to have because if you talk about the long term of this game, you're talking about thousands of days probably to get everything maxed out. And then the cost, obviously, 50% is big. The one thing I asked and confirmed is this does not bring down the cost of true gold. So he's not useful in that, but as far as resources concerned, he saves a lot there. All right, so that is pretty much all Generation 1 we're talking about. And then we get into Generation 2, and this is where, Marlin is my favorite hero that isn't one of the Generation 1s like Amadeus. If there's a tier list, he would be, SSR for sure. The reason why is his skills are so offensively strong. You really don't get too many that are like this, where you have like damage dealt, chance up, 20% essentially, damage up 25%, and then enemy lethality down, like essentially, what is that? 20% of reducing, 50% for 2 turns. So those are all really, really solid skills. And if he hits, and he hits on these things that are chance-based, the damage just skyrockets. And on top of that, you have a widget that is just amazing, like lethality up 15%. So he's like almost purely offensive. And just one of my favorite heroes that they ever came out with as far as just having really good stats that got past Generation 1. Like, to me, Generation 1 had all the stats you'd ever want, but, they become irrelevant fairly quickly. So Marlin was the other one that had that. Then we have Hildy. She's okay. She's useful in the fact that she has a defensive widget, essentially, so she's increasing health 15%. And their stats are pretty good, too. She's got some crazy ones where they're a mixed bag, so that's what I don't really like about her. If I have a defensive hero, I want a lot of defensive skills. So she's got attack up 15%, defense up 10%. It's fine. This one's a good one, though. This damage up 50%. Like, if she hits, she kind of hits hard on that one. And then damage taken down goes about 20% reduction. So she's not like a mind-blowing hero, but I still use her because she is cavalry and she's defensive. Her defensive widget is just great. So when you get to Generation 2, you can have a pretty good defensive setup with them. And then who else do we get for Generation 2 is Zoe. And Zoe, I did not put much effort in because I had Amadeus. Her skill is a little odd because she's strictly about... her widget is a bit odd because it's strictly about garrisons, right? But she's a very flexible hero where she's kind of offensive, she's kind of defensive. Damage up, like 20% chance of damage up, 40% for 3 turns, solid. Attack up 25%, solid. And then enemy damage taken down 50-50. So if you have not invested in Amadeus or Helga and you're free to play, she is a solid choice. I believe you get her on the wheel too, so that's one of those things where it's like very free to play friendly, and she's solid, man. She's a solid hero. You're just not going to get that benefit of an offensive widget, and the defensive widget is okay, but it's about garrisoning, so it's like not even about defensive per se. It's just about when you're in a garrison. Then we move on to Generation 3. And Generation 3 is, that's when I kind of realized the power of the widgets. That's when we got Petra, who was the first offensive hero since Jabel, who I personally didn't put effort into her widget, right? But when I got Petra, her widget is pretty solid. You talk about rally squad attack 15%, which if you have Amadeus, it doubles up with that. So now you're talking about a 30% increase, and that's not 30% points that you're adding on. You add on 30% points, and then you multiply by 30%. So you end up with these, like, crazy stats. Like, let me show you one that I just got recently. We had the Eternity thing today, so I gotta get down here to where I was doing rallies. Here we go. So this was one after I hadn't even maxed out Amadeus at this. But you can see that these, like, infantry attack, cavalry attack, archer attack, these are all the result of a double widget where you're getting 30%, so like where these things are kind of like, they probably should be about 700 or whatever, you're up into like the 900s strictly because of those widgets. And then you're getting a lethality boost with Marlin, so those are a little bit higher too. You're pushing on the 800 there. So then back to this. So she was a solid hero in that way. I wasn't really a huge fan of her skills. They're good, but they're not great. Damage taken up, I like that one. 50% chance of increasing damage attack, 50%. That's pretty good too. And then damage taken down, 25%. So they're fine. You can't complain about that stuff. But I'm not blown away by him at all. Then Eric is one that I actually really liked because he was defensive hero, right? So he's kind of the hero I like, where it's like every single skill is going to be pretty much defensive, and the gear and the widget's going to be defensive. And they're not like variable with him too. Here's a 20% enemy attack down, right? Then you got 20% damage taken down, and then you got 25% health up. Solid. Like, you're going to get that every time. There's no chance involved with that. And then, on top of that, you're going to get squad defense increased by 50%. Solid all defense. So, in my opinion, Eric is kind of like the SSR of defense, and Amadeus is the SSR of offense. So, defense, offense, they're kind of the same because they both have, like, all offense for Amadeus and all defense for Eric. Then it takes the Jaeger, who I thought was kind of a garbage hero, but I will end up maxing him out. He's at 9, but we're in KVK prep, and then I'm going to push that to 10, and then I'm going to get the last shard done today. But he was the guy that, his widget was defensive, and that's pretty much the only reason why I maxed him out. Because my option otherwise was Saul, and do I want to invest a bunch into Saul when, from a standpoint of just the basic, like, he's Gen 4, so you're going to get, 290 attack, 290 defense, and then your widget I think is 70%. Like that's solid. You can't choose Saul over Jaeger when you have that kind of comparison. But as far as the skills go, I am not thrilled with them at all. You know, damage up, you have a 20% chance of increasing squad's damage dealt by 40% by 3 turns. Reducing squad's lethality for 2 turns, the enemy lethality, and then health 25%. They're fine. You know, you can't really complain about that, but I was just not thrilled with him as a hero generally overall. But as far as putting teams together, he's very, very good in that. Like when we were doing our various events through this, like our alliance, our kingdom is very, we get along very well with everybody. You know, we have, you know, different alliances and we like compete fairly strongly, but you know, bottom line is we're really working together to win at KVK. And so at one of our Sink and Fort things that we do free for all, I had him in with Eric and Hildy, and they couldn't break the garrison because that's 3 defensive heroes with 3 defensive widgets, and that is really strong, you know. So 1 attack could not break that, 2 attacks obviously could. So it's not like I was holding strong forever, but at least, you know, for that 1 hit, there was nobody that could break that garrison in 1 hit. And that was based on those 3 heroes. So that was very solid. And then on my 3 that I use offensively currently are Amadeus, Marlin, and Petra. And those 3 are solid heroes too. And you should see the difference. Like when I get these 3 defensive heroes together, it shoots up my health into the 1,000 percentiles, you know? It's crazy. And then now currently, now that I got Amadeus maxed and I got these other 2 and did a few other things, my attack is getting into the 980s and stuff like that, so it's very strong as well. Now this brings us to Generation 4. And Generation 4, let me get to that part real quick. They seem to be kind of following the same thing that these other, and what the pattern I'm noticing is essentially you get 2 generations worth of value out of each hero for the most part, right? With exception of some of the Gen 1s. So first we have Rosa, and she's one that I think is very good offensively. Her stats are essentially that, you know, first you're getting this giant boost up from like 290 to 370, so you really can't not get her, right? But she's going to do 40%, 50% damage dealt, so increasing squad's damage dealt by essentially 20%, solid. Enemy damage down by 20%, solid. And then you've got archer attack up by 30%. So that's more than usual, but really it's not that great. But I don't know, might be good. We'll see. It could be that archers, you know, do a lot of killing, so maybe it's really good to boost them extra above the other people. It's kind of a weird thing to just do archers, though. But her expedition is 15% rally squad lethality up. So she's doing exactly what Marlin is doing, but it looks like we're going to get like a stronger offensive attack from her. And it's not necessarily because her skills are better, because I don't think they are. I really think that Marlin has the best skills. But, you know, when you're talking about Marlin in Generation 2, I think like 240 capping out, I'm not sure exactly, to 370, I mean, you just can't mess with that, right? And so, you know, I got, you know, 2 generations worth from Marlin. I think that's worth it. Alcar is a funny guy. You know, you're still getting this giant boost of like 370, but he's not offensive with the widget, but a lot of his skills are offensive. And the other thing about this is, like, some of these are really weird skills. Like, some of them are really strong, like damage taken down 70% every 5 turns for 2 turns. Doing the math on that, it probably turns out to be about a 20% or something like that, maybe 30. This one's very interesting, where you're getting 100% damage up increase on infantry, and then 10% on cavalry and archers. That's huge. But again, if you don't have the widget and you're not getting a multiplying effect from the widget, is it worth it? I mean, for me, I'm probably going to skip this guy because I just don't see the value in it. And the third skill is this one, this Capre Diem or whatever. This one is very interesting too, because it increases infantry damage dealt per attack by 60% and target damage taken by 25% for 1 turn. Now, if you look at your stats, if you're looking at your rallies and stuff like that, or your solo attacks in like a castle battle, whatever, you can see how many times things are triggered, right? And the smaller the squad that is that's attacking you, so if a guy is soloing you with 100,000 troops, you might get like 1 or 2 triggers, right? And he'd probably be very strong in that because you're not going to have a very long battle. But if you're like messing with the guy that's got like a million rally and he's hitting you, and like it's going to be a lot. Sometimes you see like 26 triggers of these things. So this skill is going to disappear pretty quick, in my opinion. So I'm not inclined to get him. And then the skill is health up 15%. So the interesting thing about this is if you had him and you had Hildy and you had Jaeger, you'd actually have a defender health boost of 45%. So you'd add the 45% on top of that and then multiply by 45%. So it's a kind of interesting concept, but I just think overall it is not what I'm going to be going for. I think I'm going to skip him. And then Margot I will get as well. She's the one that I actually have to, have shards for. Rosa is going to be on the wheel. And then Alcar is going to be the daily deal guy. So, she's kind of like the Eric of last generation, where you actually had to have the shards to get her. So as far as Expedition, you're getting the same good boost of attack and defense. Attack up 25%, solid. Dodge probability of 20%. This is interesting. So this is pretty much like damage down 100%, 20% of the time, right? So that seems pretty good. And then here's one that's very similar to like Hildy, where you're getting 25% chance of performing extra attack, dealing 200% damage. So, I mean, doing the math on that, that's pretty much 50% damage each turn, potentially. And then the exclusive gear, she is Defender Lethality up 15%. So again, it's only a Defender widget. So my plan of action is to, in this next generation, essentially retire Marlin, love you but you gotta go, and then retire Hildy. So my Gen 2 are going to be replaced out with Gen 4 for those two. I will stick with Jaeger, I will stick with Eric, I'll stick with Amadeus, and I will stick with Petra. So that's pretty much my breakdown of the generation of the heroes, what they do and how I use them, and the benefit of each of them. If I were to redo everything and start this game from the beginning, I would have just like gone so hard for those shards in Amadeus early on. Like to max them out right when, a month before Gen 4 is coming out. God, I feel like I'm going to have very limited time to actually enjoy those buffs that I'm getting from him. Because I think by Generation 5, I'm probably going to have to replace him, and that's unfortunate. So anyways, those are my thoughts on that, and I hope you guys enjoy that.